Greetings ladies and gents, and welcome to today's Reddit Quickie video, taken from the HFY subreddit called The Man Who Found Humanity, written by Pfizer Mope. The link to the original will be down below, and as always, I hope that you enjoy. I don't know how many times I've already told the story. I am not even sure that I'm the best person to do so. I was merely there when it happened. For reasons that are neither noble nor exciting. I was captain of the Kaloon, a fine old Kantari Z3 reclamation hauler. We were out there at the fringe of the civilized space when our rays picked up an object. It was clearly traversing in an artificial trajectory, but rather slow, all things considered. Most likely what we were looking at was some debris from the olden times, some relic that got adrift, pushed outwards to the inner systems. With our FTL, it was easy to catch them. Finding them was a difficult task. We did not think much about actually drifting inwards to the spiral, but there could have been plenty of reasons. Being caught in a gravity well with a faulty navigational system that just decided to come to life and burn a thruster for half a second. Who cares? We certainly didn't. We just saw a way to make good credits. When we got closer and actually got that can into the range of our active sensor suite, things got a bit weird, so to say. It was no pattern of ship our systems recognized, and neither was it damaged beyond that point. It even had some nuclear propulsion engine running, as if we were looking at some antiquity from a museum. But no, it was not an antiquity. Well, it kind of was. It was called Endurance, and we only learned of this long after the Union xenologists had made their breakthroughs, but it was an apt name. A name nobody needed to translate, as just a mere glance was all it took to see what it went through. It was old, it was torn, and it was damaged. Not as much as you would think, but it certainly wore marks of age and weariness. And it still worked like a flawless clock. I am so thankful that we were cautious at this point, that it did not respond to our hails, did not react to our signals, not in a way that we would have noticed. We could have used cutters and ripped the hull open to reveal the secrets, but I could have never forgiven myself for that. So we synchronized, went into our suits and prepared for a walk in space. To knock, maybe? We did not have to, as they opted to open the hatch themselves. And so we met in space, only surrounded by the void. He was alone. They had closed that hatch behind him, and his suit looked old, just as his ship. It would have been white at some point, but now it was just grey. His face was covered by a golden shield of approached me, guided by some primitive propulsion system he managed to utilize with a graceful manner. There he was, there I was. Now I knew that there were people. I knew that they would most likely try to communicate, just as we did. I told my comms to look for anything. No matter what, just anything. He raised a hand. I was anxious, I'm not lying, but he just waved it, and then opened his golden shield to raise his veil. What I saw was a flashy face, organic to the eye. It had plenty of fur, and was just as foreign to me. But when I met his eyes with mine, I saw a being that was just as much at home in the void as I was. He certainly was not afraid, just exhausted, relieved, maybe. But then I did not know how to read their expressions, neither do I know today. But I just felt it. I like to believe that I did. That was when I found the first human. After that, things went out of my hand. We alerted the Union of our discovery, as it was the law, and without much delay, they dispatched a Verona great cruiser. It was their policy for new contact with spacefaring species. A display of power, if you so want, without deploying an overwhelming numbers to make them mistaken for a threat. The last time they did this, well, I can't even remember. In the end, it was just so comical to witness a technological marvel to be dispatched to deal with that. Again, with an attached propulsion system. It turned out fine, though. The cruiser was large enough to shelter the humans, take them in. Not that their vessel was falling apart. Far from it. but just so that they could be treated, monitored, and, I suppose, quarantined. Brought under control, if you so will. Not because we had ill intents, simply to get ahead of the issue if there was any. And then nothing happened for quite a while. Language certainly was the biggest problem, but the Union got rid of that one. So the talk started, and they took a while as well. The story we then learned, though, it went around the entire Union. They called themselves humans. They had lived on Earth and they killed their home. To us, this was a known tragedy. There was just so many steps a civilization could fail and doom itself before it reached space, but we decided not to interfere. Within their inner system, nobody was left that would even qualify for that protection anymore, though so it did not really concern us on an everyday basis. We just knew this stuff could happen, and apparently so did it for the humans. But there are exceptions, based on our observations of centuries ago, proved wrong. This was no doomsday scenario that just happened without escape. They made their own. Driven by desperation, they had united, started what they called the Exodus. They bounded together, facing certain doom, and launched themselves to the stars. They knew only a tiny fraction could get away, but still, they dedicated everything to it, to the arcs. Ultimately, they had built 7 arcs, all fundamentally different in approach to avoid a single flaw within a design, to undermine the entire mission. There were no test runs for this. Each one was under the oversight of their former national space agencies and crewed by random yet qualified selection of humans. No regard given for the ethnic differences. And so their greatest undertaking started, and we could only listen in disbelief when we learned about the dimensions of this exodus. For over 1,000 years they had lived and died within their machines. Generations had passed each other as they maintained their tiny and vulnerable habitats, pushing ever forward to find an end to their journey. The ship had looked like an antiquity to me, but then I realized that I was looking at a technological marvel. No other ship in the Union history or older had ever been in service for such a long time, without pause. Endurance, how truly fitting. When they started to trust us, they told us the rough directions the other ships had taken. Of the 7 that launched 1,000 years ago, we found 6, and unique they were. Endurance was a can, nothing else to say about that. But the Persistence was a giant swarm of decentralized and horribly inefficient modules that were created simply to negate the impact of a singular catastrophic failure. Or Tenacity, a complex of spinning sections and zero-G facilities. After their rescue, we offered them fertile grounds, paradise worlds that had never been settled on before and had been protected by the Union to be conserved. For the humans, though, for the trial that they had behind them, we thought it wrong to keep them from a new world. They had destroyed their old one, yes, but they had also earned their right to a new world to call home. What we did not expect, they declined. At first we thought it was just that they had gone mad or arrogant to decline such an offer. But then we realized. It's funny if you ask me, when the xenologists researched their language, they did so with the curiosity of scientists. Humans don't think much of it, and they call themselves humans. Why should they? It's normal for them. But then we researched their tongue. We learnt it meant being from the ground, being from the earth. I still marvel, could they not let Earth pass? Forget their mother, replace it with another one? Or did they become what no race really was? Did their ordeal turn them into the only truly void-born species known in the Union? For us, space is just a means to an end. We travel it to achieve things, get from one location to another, to interact with foreign nations, to assist the greater good within the Union. But to them, it may just have been home. All they wanted and diligently asked for was assistance, technology, and machinery to get on their own feet, and so we did. We elevated them from the technological levels, but quickly noticed that they did not merely adapt. They integrated, they put their own twist on our designs, and we could hardly fault them for it. They had made it through space for 1,000 years. What critique could we offer that was even capable to rival with the feat that they managed to perform? Then they asked for asteroids, resources, things that existed in abundance, and so we naturally agreed. We admired them for their spirit, loved to watch their progress, and maybe even condescending them like a pet project of ours. But then it dawned on us, no mere pet would be able to do what they did, and their progress told many stories of their ingenuity, their perseverance, and their power of will. Where they failed, and they often did, they picked up, learned from it, and went on, as if they had to prove to themselves, to us, as if they reveled in the idea to pay us back for our help, but to also be more than just a curiosity. And so they pulled that off as well. They made a home in space, all of it, a central station of a merely token of their unity, the seat of their captain's council, the overseers of the patrician houses, and elects of the admiralty in times of need. When we think of traveling to the stars, we think of humans. The Union trade is in their firm hands, so it is the most private astro mining. They became a member of the Union Senate, and only time will tell where they are going from here. I often get asked how I feel about them. If I had wanted to simply ignore the speck on my senses, that was the endurance. I honestly don't know. They deserve their place, and I can understand those that are afraid of their ambitions. In the end, though, I simply don't believe that we could have just avoided humanity if I had done differently. All I am being grateful is that when we met them as friends, offered our aid when they needed it. And that, my friends, is the end of this Reddit Quickie. I hope that you enjoyed. If you would like to support this channel, there are numerous ways to do so, listed in the description down below. The easiest and best way would be to share this video and my channel as much as possible. I'll see you all in the next video, and I hope that you have a good one until then. Cheers.